finger guns are relevant in this scenario. Hey y'all, my name is Evelyn and welcome back to my channel, Here There Be Magic, where I talk about the magic of all things storytelling. Today I want to tell you about 3 upcoming book releases that I have read and loved. This is the 3rd installment of this sort of series. So I've been in the book internet game long enough that I receive a lot of ARCs, whether that be via request on NetGalley, sometimes publishers send them to me, and so I oftentimes read books months and months in advance of when they release, and then I would forget to talk about them. So I've made it a point to do that every few months on my channel, and I've collected some upcoming releases for September and October, and I wrote this video and then I got more, and I'm so upset. There are a couple that I really wanted to talk about in this video and I didn't have time to read them before the first 2 come out, which is tomorrow. So before I jump into the books that I have read, I will tell you about 2 that I'm super excited to read very quickly before they release later this month, which are Poe and the Soul Stealer by Laurie M. Lee, which is a middle grade fantasy under the Rick Riordan Presents imprint and is set to release on September 7th, 2021, and Sisters of Shadow by Catherine Livesey, which is a young adult fantasy. I talked about this one in my most anticipated releases of the second half of 2021 videos, which I will link somewhere so you can see what's all up with that. I am so excited that I got an ARC. It's set to release on the 30th of September. I think I may have said that already. Anyway, I just did not have time to read it before the 7th, which is tomorrow, which is when 2 of these other books that I'm talking about in this video release, so let's just go ahead and talk about them. Okay, first up we have The Night When No One Had Sex by Kelena Miller, which is set to release on September 7th, 2021. It's the night of senior prom and friends Julia, Alex, Zoe, and Madison have made a pact. A sex pact. They're all prepared to make the most of their night without parental supervision, armed with a secluded cabin in the woods and plenty of condoms. But as soon as they leave the dance, things begin to fall apart. The story bounces between the 4 friends' point of views and their very chaotic group chat as they each face up against obstacles from chronic illness to college admissions to family medical emergencies to an incident with a locked closet. I love stories that take place over a really short span of time, like the night after prom, and I love senior year stories, so I was super excited to pick this one up, and I had so much fun reading it. Getting past back and forth between the 4 point of views made everything super fast-paced, and it was fun seeing how all of the different shenanigans kind of slotted together into one larger story. I also adored the inclusion of the group chat. Y'all know I love when teenagers actually use technology in young adult novels, and my friends and I have like a similarly chaotic group chat. So I could 100% relate. Every time like the name got changed, I laughed out loud. I also just love this story's relationship to prom. Like, prom is included in a lot of teen stories, but usually it's like the end of the story. It's the thing that they're building up to, like the goal to be met. I do love a big build up to prom moment. Like, that's incorporated in the book that I am writing right now. So like, don't get me wrong, love a good prom, but I also loved how this went beyond prom. Like, it doesn't even start until after they're outside the dance. Because of that, it gets to examine all of the anxieties about the looming future that kind of hit you at the very end of senior year when you start to run out of like milestones to look forward to that aren't like the big scary graduation slash college slash starting adult life thing. Senior year was rough for me and for a lot of my friends, and it gets romanticized a lot in media, like specifically prom and that whole like we're gonna be friends forever, it's a magical night kind of like deal. And so I always love stories that really tap into that feeling but also acknowledge the big scary anxiety feelings, and this book did that so well. Just like the characters don't really know what's going to happen next in their lives. I never knew what was going to happen next in the plot. I was just along for the ride, and it was a roller coaster. It was so fun, but I did know that I was rooting for them all. Not to have sex necessarily, just, you know, to go out there and, I was gonna say do the thing, but that's it. Live their life. Yeah, okay, you get it. Next, we have Never Saw You Coming by Erin Han, which is also set to release on the 7th of September, 2021. Just a reminder, that is tomorrow. So you have like a few hours to go pre-order it, I guess, or else go buy it tomorrow. I described this book to my best friend, who is a recovering youth group kid, as Religious Trauma, the novel. So take from that what you will. When an uncovered family secret unravels everything 18-year-old Meg Hennessy ever knew about her childhood, leaving her questioning everything she's ever been told to believe, she abandons her gap year plans and travels up north to seek out family she never knew existed. There she meets Micah, a former pastor's kid who cut ties with the church when his father was sent to prison. They're immediately drawn to each other, but is it possible to build lasting love on a shared foundation of shaken faith? Never Saw You Coming is a spin-off of Erin Han's previous book, More Than Maybe, which I adored. If you're like me and you get way too excited for any and all cameos, you'll be very happy to know that Luke and Beta do make an appearance in this one. Meg was one of the most interesting best friend side characters I'd ever encountered. Her wings, her whole deal. And so when I found out that she was getting her own book, I knew that I had to get my hands on it, and I just lucked out. We all lucked out. Wednesday Books put it up for like read now for a while, alongside If This Gets Out by Sophie Gonzalez and Cale Dietrich, which I will be discussing in the future. You know I will. Because once again, I say this all the time, Wednesday Books treats me and us all right. So I read this book in less than 5 hours the day that I got the ARC. I stayed up way too late to do it, but I like simply could not put this book down. I was enthralled by the complicated relationships between the characters, and their complicated relationships with their own faith, and the romance, which was so soft and sweet and based on mutual support, and I just could not get enough of it. So good. This book definitely falls on the older end of the young adult spectrum. Meg and Micah are both in that weird in-between spot where you're technically a legal adult, but you're also still a teenager, and you're like, what is life even? Like I said, I love Meg. So seeing her come into her own as a character and as a person was so amazing. I don't necessarily usually vibe with religious stories as someone who is completely non-practicing and has been her entire life. I don't always get it. A lot of the stories that I have interacted with that have specifically Christian themes in them end up being preachy. And so I had kind of learned to avoid them, but I really trust Erin Han as an author. And having read the book, I honestly think that I was right to place my trust in her, because she handles these very deep issues within religious communities, or at least a very specific sect of Christianity, and the effects that they have on the young people within those communities in such a thoughtful way, at least from my perspective. I could tell that it came from a place of very deep love and caring. So yeah, if you're a fan of Erin Han's previous work, the way that she has tackled some deeper, more potentially traumatic subject matter within the young adult space, while still providing us with very adorable romances, then you will definitely love this one as well. And last but certainly not least, we have City of Shattered Light by Claire Wynn, which is set to release on the 19th of October, 2021. 17-year-old Eza Almeida, heiress to a powerful tech empire, has spent her entire life under the thumb of her manipulative father. When he uploads her rebellious sister into an experimental brain threatening to reprogram her mind, Eza flees with her digitized sister in tow and a bounty on her head. A crash landing leaves her in the worst place possible, the neon-drenched outlaw paradise Requiem, where gunslinging smuggler Riven Hawthorne is determined to claw her way up the hierarchy using the bounty on Azza's head. But when a nasty computer virus spreads in Azza's wake, causing a citywide blackout, the girls must learn to work together and team up to survive. I had a blast reading City of Shattered Light. It is a fast-paced jaunt through a fun futuristic world with some really great nods to classic Western, like, gunslinging, shootout type loveliness. Loveliness? Really? Okay. Sometimes I can get a little bit intimidated by sci-fi as a genre, specifically world building within sci-fi. Figuring out the rules can really, like, bog things down for me. I did not have that problem with this book. I found the world of City of Shattered Light to be very accessible. Maybe because it incorporated tropes that were familiar to me from other genres that I love. Not just the Western genre, but like fantasy novels. The setup of Requiem as this like place where crime runs wild and it's run by gangs, like that is familiar to me from other young adult. If you're a fan of Found Family, you're going to love the crew of like chaotic queer space teens that's at the heart of this story. And if you really like Longing, then you're gonna be into the relationship between Azza and Riven. Despite their like tumultuous circumstances often putting them at odds, they have very, very similar motivations and they're both quite stubborn. So you can't help but root for them to like just figure things out and become the awesome team that they're obviously meant to be because they're both brilliant. Sci-fi is definitely not my favorite genre, but this is definitely one of my favorite sci-fi that I've read in a while. So go pick it up when it releases on October 19th. Alright, so there you have it. Those are some upcoming releases that I have read and loved, and I think you'll love too. If you like this video and you want to see more from my channel, remember to click that subscribe button. I will be back in a couple months giving you more upcoming releases that I have read and loved and think you will too, because I have so many more arcs to read. With that being said, my name is Evelyn. I make new videos every Magical Monday, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.